Hey, everyone out there and rambling about Racing Nation. Matt Beamer here again with heavy hearts this episode as we found out here on November 15th that one of our good friends here of the show, Catherine Santos, succumbed to her cancer and passed away at the age of 36. If you all remember, the Santos Strong shirts and campaign that we had going on here with Bonfire is going towards that. All proceeds will go there. Thank you to everyone who donated to that. Special prayers and thoughts go out to the Porter family, more so Richard and Donna, her mom and dad, as well as her husband Guy, they were just married back less than a year ago. Thoughts and prayers go out to them. Going to take a quick moment of silence before we get into the show, our Formula One and NASCAR season review, to pay tribute and honor the life of Catherine Santos. This is a production of ITM Media. It is that time of the year again, ladies and gentlemen, the Formula One and NASCAR season review. Thank you for joining us live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube if you're joining us there, or if you're on your regular podcast platform, going to family and friends this Thanksgiving. It's crazy to think, Charlie, that this time last year we were getting ready to go up to Caroline's grandparents' house and enjoy turkey with you there at drill sergeant school. How year changes everything.
Yeah, I know it. It has flown by for sure. I sent you and Caroline that text this morning. I said, Caroline's family's Thanksgiving is just not going to be the same without me there this year.
No, it's not. And like I said to you on the text, I'm pretty sure I speak for everybody there when I say you will be sorely missed this coming Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I'll be working Thanksgiving, but I got a good deal straightening out here with someone at work. They're going to take my Christmas. I work their Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair deal right there. That's a deal worth taking right there, if you ask me. But as you all notice, if you're just joining us here on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter live, or your regular podcast platform, it's just going to be me and Charlie. Austin finally brought, I believe, his daughter home from the NICU. So his family is all together for their first Thanksgiving. Hopefully he could show up to tomorrow's race. And I must tell you, Charlie, remember when you guys were busting my chops about not showing up to the races because of babysitting duties? Austin's kind of in the same boat now.
Yeah. Time will tell. We'll find out tomorrow night.
Time will tell. I will be racing in the VRL Racing League from Atlanta. Charlie and I ran a mock race yesterday. Needless to say, if you haven't already, tune into AAA Broadcasting on YouTube, which will be ran live there. It will be streamed live there. And subscribe to that channel where you'll see myself, Charlie Hercus, maybe Austin Reeves racing the Atlanta truck race. New paint schemes are coming out for that race, as well as the rest of the season. Hopefully, I don't know how many more races I can make. Needless to say, I'm ineligible for any type of championship, but that's okay. I go there to have fun anyway. But Charlie, man, how's it going? We're now in a holiday routine. This is going to be our second to last show. Our last show will be here in the next couple of weeks, our Christmas special. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the holiday season, man.
Yeah. Like you said, just, winding down for the year and getting ready for the holiday. Yeah. Different ball games, stuff like that. So
Austin says that now. He said podcast is one thing, racing is a totally different ball game. We'll see what his wife says about that. If she has anything to say about that.
If I have to make a phone call tomorrow, I'll make a phone call.
Oh no.
But anyway, yeah. So like we said, just winding everything down. Racing's pretty much over for the year. As far as your major, NASCAR series and F1 and all that.
It's not pretty much over. It's over. Everything's done until
February. I mean, you still got your heavy hitting, late model races and stuff like that. I found out today that Brad Keselowski made his announcement that he's going to run the Snowball Derby race this year. So, of course, the one year that like Austin said, that he's not going to be able to go down there and watch it, and I'm not going to be able to go down there and watch it this year. A lot of big names are going to be down there this year. There's already, I think, 60 cars registered for that race.
How big's the field for the Snowball Derby? Do you know?
42.
Wow.
Top 30 are locked in qualifying, and then there's last chance races for the last 12.
That's interesting.
So, and typically, like the top 30 are locked in qualifying, and they're within 3 or 4 tenths of each other. So it's super tight field.
I have a feeling this show's about to take off really big, and maybe one year down the line, if not next year, the year after, definitely not this year, we'll get a trip down there. We'll take the camper, have a great old time. Bring the kids.
We'll bring I mean, it's a good time down there. It's a lot of fun for sure.
And at that point, give the wives and girlfriends and everything a trip somewhere. And you say, you guys go do that without the kids, have fun, and we'll take care of the kids in Florida for the Snowball Derby.
Yeah.
Dreams
we'll do it.
Aim high. Aim high.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're doing well, man. Hope everyone's doing well out there this Thanksgiving week, and be safe. Definitely driving to family and friends' house. Definitely driving back from family and friends' house. Looking forward to just relaxing the rest of the week and go to work Thursday and then spend the rest of the weekend decorating for Christmas and getting ready for first Christmas for baby. It's going to be great. I can't wait for that. And everything's well on this end. Maury's growing, 9 months, standing up on her own. She's getting ready to walk, dude.
Yep. It flies by, man.
It's going to happen sooner than I think. I have a feeling. But everything's going well here. Mom's doing well. Baby's doing well. Everything's going well. Charlie, you want to just go ahead and hit the ground running and get into this review of NASCAR and Formula One season?
Yeah, let's get it.
All right, this is Hey Man, Formula One and NASCAR review.
Hey man. Hey man.
I don't think it's going to be much of a debate show as it is it might be a little bit of debate. You and I have tend to, throughout the seasons here of Rambling About Race, and tend to get a little heated from time to time on certain topics, you know? We'll see where it goes.
It just depends on what the topic is.
It really does depend. I'm going to do a little quick on the fly adjustment here for the camera. But it just really depends, really, like you said, on what the argument or what the topic is, I should say. But we're going to go ahead and start off with NASCAR vice Formula One here. We'll get to Formula One later on in the show. But NASCAR, this Hey Man, of course, presented by Devos. Devos is the outdoor lighting that you need, not only for the backyard, the beach, to camp in, but also for emergencies. You could use it for roadside assistance on a dark night, on a dark winter's night, hopefully not going to grandma's house for Thanksgiving. But you can use it anywhere. Devos, the outdoor light, use code RAMBLIN for 10% off your order. And those links can be found at ramblingaboutracing.com underneath the sponsors tab, or at the bottom of the page where our sponsors are, or on the links on our YouTube and podcast descriptions. All right. Oh my goodness, I'm totally messing up here. This car changes here. I messed that up here. Okay. The 2022 NASCAR season review. We're going to go ahead and kick it off like this. Charlie, what was the best race of 2022 in your opinion? And if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter live, make sure just follow along. Give us your opinions on what our topics are as they come along. But Charlie, your best race in your opinion from the 2022 season.
And it's throughout the 3 series, correct?
Yeah, I'll allow. I picked mainly Cup heavy stuff, but you can pick any race that you thought was the best race of the 2022 season.
I thought. I'm gonna say I thought the Truck Series race. There's definitely a lot of good races. Don't get me wrong, but the first round of the Truck Series playoffs, the first race at was at IRP or whatever it's called, Indianapolis
Right.
Raceway or
Raceway
Park.
Park,
Yeah.
Race Parkway.
I enjoyed that race a lot. That was probably one of my more favorite races.
All right, mine would have to be the Coca-Cola 600. That was such a crazy race. It almost seemed like it had everything happen. You had Chris Buescher flipping down the front stretch after just a freak catch in the drain there on the front stretch grass. You had a crazy finish. You had to look like what is going to be Austin Dillon and going to go for a Coca-Cola 600 win, getting turned there in front of the field. Denny Hamlin ended up winning that race, but I don't remember much tire controversy as we saw at other mile-and-a-half tracks like Atlanta and Texas. I just remember that being one of the best races of the year, and that's going to be my pick for the top race of the year. Let me see if anybody else. Oh, okay, Tracy Arnett here. This is a good one here. I never even thought of. Darlington Spring, loved all the except the ending where Logano doing what he did. I reckon your win. Did I read that right? Darlington Spring, loved it all except for the ending. Logano.
Yeah, you read it right, but pretty much Logano doing what he does best. Wrecking to get his win.
Well, I didn't think he really wrecked William Byron.
He definitely didn't. It wasn't a bump and run. It was a run through and run.
But Byron went into the wall. Maybe that'll be brought up for the Christmas special or hold debate on that spring race here. Tracy also said the All-Star race was one of his favorite ones, especially when everybody thought it was over, which I thought it was over. Ryan Blaney thought it was over, dropping the window net and racing.
Oh, yeah. Man, that guy.
Oh.
That guy was he was trigger happy on that caution light. That guy, whoever was in charge of throwing the lights that night was.
Yeah, he had one job and he did it well.
He did it. He knew the assignment.
And to wreck if you're in, my bad, Tracy. But thanks for talking about that, Tracy. Yeah. And speaking of the best race, the worst race, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with that. The worst racing I saw all season had to come in Texas with all the tire issues, all the craziness that happened during the regular season race, as well as the All-Star race. I don't think, speaking of Ryan Blaney, if you go back and listen to what Preston and I talked about that All-Star race, he should have had to come down pit road and fix that window net. Because heaven forbid, and I think this is one thing you'll agree with Denny Hamlin, heaven forbid something would have happened and entered into the driver's compartment that could have been prevented with the window net being up. We would have seen an uproar like no others, not just from Penske, not just from Ryan Blaney's family, crew, sponsors. We would have seen it from everybody. NASCAR dodged a bullet there when it came to that. But Texas was just a complete crap show, both races, the All-Star and the regular season.
Yeah. So we'll argue that later on as far as the window net thing. I get they probably should have made him put it back up, but at the same time, he should have got a spot back.
Yeah, they could have made
with the whole issue of, everybody thought the race was over, and then it wasn't over, all that kind of stuff. Wasn't Denny running second at the time?
I think he was, and that's why he was kind of advocating to bring him in.
So, because if he was in Ryan Blaney's spot, he'd have been out there wanting to stay, hold it up, and all that too. So,
right. And I can understand him getting his spot back. Hey, we messed up. Come in, fix the window net, get your spot back. No harm, no foul. And I think it would have ended the same way. But you never know now. I mean, it's in the history books.
I'm going to go. My worst race was the first Martinsville race.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what a letdown.
That was horrible. I know the guys from Blind Spotting NASCAR podcast were there.
So, because that was the first, I guess, legit short track race, because the first Bristol race was dirt. So Martinsville was the first actual asphalt short track that we had.
Right.
And man, you want to talk about a
just
Debbie Downer.
just a boring race.
It was horrible.
And I had a shot to go to that race. One of the guys
I'm
there,
glad you didn't.
I think it was Travis, couldn't make it. And Michael Colberth texted me and said, "Hey, Travis can't make it. Can you want to come to the Martinsville race?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I would love to go to Martinsville." Then I started thinking, man, do I really want to go? I was looking at the weather, and then Maury was just born like maybe 3 weeks prior to that. It's like, I really want to stay home with the baby and watch it. And then when I watched the race, I think Maury and I had a nice long nap. It was just a boring race and very disappointing, and nothing compared to what happened there in the fall. Of course, the fall was a playoff race, and I think it's a little different. But I think NASCAR is definitely going to be looking at that short track package here during the off season. That's a good one. And Tracy said the worst race was the championship race. He said, I'm biased because Logano won that race and it was terrible. And Tracy was there, so I think he has a better understanding of how it was. And I think, and we'll get more into that in the show because I have Phoenix here listed on my notes a few times for this show. But Martinsville for you, Texas for me. That's interesting. I think this is going to be one for us here. Who is the best team / driver, in your opinion, in 2022?
Even though he didn't get a win and he wound up not being in the Final Four, I'm going to say Blaney and Penske.
Okay.
Just off of sheer, honestly, consistency because of making it so far into the playoffs and being there, so many times and going that deep into the playoffs and not having a win to back it up.
Right, not having a win all season.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for Ryan Blaney.
So that's going to be, and me being an Elliott fan, Elliott was pretty good all year, fairly consistent all year, and had some wins. But I got to go with Blaney and Penske because of them not having that win and going, so deep into the playoffs and then finishing second at Phoenix there at the end.
Yep. I think that's a good pick for driver of the year for you and our best team and driver combination. I think the best team and driver combination, I'm going to agree with you with Penske, but I'm going to have to give it to the champion, Joey Logano, with 4 wins of the season and a championship. 5 wins in total for Penske. Unfortunately, Ryan Blaney didn't get one of those wins. It was Austin Cindric at the start of the season in the Daytona 500. But this is the first time in Team Penske's illustrious history in motorsports, ranging from Formula One, more so Indy and NASCAR, that he won both the Indy Car championship and the NASCAR championship in the same season. So I think that was amazing what he did. It was a long time coming. He finally did it. He knocked both of them out of the park here. Going to check the comments here. No comments on that one so far. But, yeah, I think I'm with you on Penske, but I'm going to have to give it to Logano there. Now, this is going to be interesting. I wonder if your mindset's the same as mine. The worst driver / team in 2022.
Cody Ware.
Well, okay.
The kid wrecked every race.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
He didn't do so hot. Yeah.
I thought about this one. And this was kind of, because I was back and forth. And honestly, this kind of ties in with Penske. But I gotta say Harrison Burton, because he didn't live up to my expectations this year. Honestly, not being a Penske affiliated team, and
to be fair, De Benedetto wasn't really running up there all the time either. That isn't a team that runs.
But he was running better.
Right.
So I guess I expected more. And to, I guess, counter what you just said, a lot of teams ran better in this new car than, or a lot of lower teams ran better in this new car. So regardless of what Matty D was running, I feel like he probably should have did a little better than what he did. So I would have to say my worst team, and I guess that's because I'm basing this personally, I guess, because he didn't live up to what I thought he should. Is Harrison Burton. So
Okay. I can see where you could get with that, but I'm just going to go with the total team this year, and that's Joe Gibbs Racing. Unlike previous seasons where we've seen multiple wins, probably in the tens to teens, Joe Gibbs Racing only had 6 wins. Most of those coming from Christopher Bell. And he's the only driver who made the Final Four. And surprisingly enough, and Tracy beat me to it here on the comments here, Martin Truex Jr. did not have a win, which blew me away the whole season. You just said a lot of teams were doing better, and one team in particular that I could say did better was Front Row Motorsports with Michael McDowell. Had a great season, very under the radar, underrated season, and over expectations, I think, an underappreciated season for what they brought to the table. But man, other teams did well, but teams like Joe Gibbs Racing, what happened to them? They're being overshadowed by Trackhouse Racing. They're being overshadowed by 2311 Racing, an affiliate of them.
I feel like everybody can answer the question at Joe Gibbs. There's just too much toxicity in that place right now.
And if Joe Gibbs was smart, he'd be clearing out all that toxicity stuff. They did win the Xfinity Series championship, turned right around the next day and had that tragedy with Coy Gibbs, Joe Gibbs' son. But it's just one of those things right now where something needs to be fixed in that organization, because we saw the downhill track starting in 2021. And unfortunately, I don't know if they hit rock bottom yet. Hopefully not. But with Ty Gibbs coming up, the 18 car is no longer going to be there. It's going to be the 54 Camry there in Joe Gibbs Racing. And Kyle Busch exiting the door. We could see the changing of the guard. We could see a new influx of goodwill and good fortune for them. But I'm not going to expect them to be turning it on for the Daytona 500, just based on what we saw this year.
No, I don't think so either. So, because I kind of think the same thing happened, and it played out, in my opinion, to Logano's favor, with the crew chief swaps, and I think that's really what we always knew. Brad kind of wanted to start his own team, but I think that's kind of what pushed him to move on to Roush too, is when they did the crew chief swaps. When they took his crew chief and moved him to Logano, and that was who he had always been successful with at Penske.
Yep, Paul Wolf.
Yep, and
yep,
and we see how successful Logano's been with him, probably more so than what he ever has been at Penske.
Yeah, I would say about the same, but a little better. Paul Wolf definitely brings a good deal of knowledge and expertise and race calling to that team. I think that's a good fit. Unfortunately, it didn't land for Keselowski. I don't know why they wanted the crew chief changed. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a couple of seasons ago. We're not even there anymore. Next question here. Did the season meet your expectations?
I guess I'll say 65-35. I'll say overall, yes. There were definitely a lot of downsides, but overall, yeah. I mean, the new car definitely, just like anything new, it's got its kinks. It's got to be worked out. So, I mean, until they put them all, you can test these things all you want to, but until you actually get them all out there running at the same time, you really don't know what you got. So, now that you do, there's kinks that's got to be worked out. There's kinks that's going to have to be fixed. I think they'll get those worked out here in the off season, just like with the safety stuff, the rear end collisions, all that kind of stuff. Let's get that fixed. That should be number one. But overall, the racing I think is a whole lot better as far as the competitiveness, and especially when it comes to the 1.5 mile tracks where it used to be super boring. So I'll have to say overall, yeah, it did meet my expectations. So
It met my expectations as well, except we fixed one area in the 1.5 mile racing and
and
then
took away from another.
suffered in another. And I think NASCAR will look at that during the offseason. You brought up a good point. Until these cars are under race condition and we get a year under the belts, and now we can see what needs to be changed and what needs to be stay the same and everything involving the Gen 7 car. I think they could re-engineer it. The Gen 7 overall needs work, and I think it is going to be worked on. I still feel like the point system and the playoff brackets and everything like that needs to be fixed or just done away with entirely and go with a new point system, points layout. I don't think the playoffs are going to go anywhere anytime soon, just based on what we saw at Martinsville with Ross Chastain and the determination that he had to do that in order to get in and advance to the Final Four. I don't think we're going to see that go away. It brings a level of expectation to it, and these drivers seem to rise up and meet those expectations. And in Ross Chastain's case, exceed those expectations. So I don't think those are going away anytime soon. That's just a biased opinion on my part. And I do know the end of the year race for next year is going to be at Phoenix again. However, I hope during this new TV deal that's going to be negotiated here for the 2024 season, I hope that it will be switched around, and just like the Super Bowl doesn't have to be at Phoenix. It could be in Homestead, Atlanta, Charlotte, anywhere like that. We talked about that a few weeks ago. I don't think it needs to be at Phoenix anymore. I think Tracy can agree with that. I think 90% of the NASCAR fans out there can agree with that it needs to be switched around. If you're going to keep the playoff format and unfortunately be like a ball and stick sport, be like the Super Bowl and move everywhere, anywhere you want. You have 17, 20 tracks at your disposal. Not only that, you have North Wilkesboro coming back. They're repaving Rockingham. They're fixing that up. Who's to say that won't be on the schedule coming up here soon? Fix the schedule, fix the championship race if you're going to keep that current playoff format. That's all I'm going to say about that. And last question in regards to NASCAR, what are you most looking forward to for the 2023 season?
Hopefully, hopefully they get the short track stuff fixed, and I want to see how the All-Star race goes. That's more or less. Want to see new cars on old track.
Yep, and you might have looked at my notes here, Charlie, and I don't see how you did here, but I want a better performing car, mainly on short tracks. I want a safer car. I know they're going to be looking at the rear end and fixing that to prevent any type of concussion issue like we saw with Alex Bowman and Kurt Busch here during this season. And the North Wilkesboro All-Star race, definitely looking forward to that. If you haven't gotten your ticket by now, good luck getting one. But that was the NASCAR season review. Going to check the comments here. No other comments here for the NASCAR season. We're going to get into the Formula One season now. All right. All right. Formula One. Not much to write home about compared to the 2021 season. As far as drama, I feel like Red Bull was clicking on all cylinders all season long, and it was just their season to lose, and they didn't let it go for an inch. Or anything here. So we're going to have the same questions here for the Formula One season as we did NASCAR. Start off with you, the best race that you saw this Formula One season.
Oh man, so didn't get to watch a whole lot of them. Sure.
Okay. Tell you what, I'll say you, I think the best race that I watched all season, and although everything was already secured with the constructors championship and the drivers championship going into it, the Brazilian Grand Prix was a great race. It showed it had a lot of interesting moving parts there with the Ricardo accident there involving the Haas of, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name, not Schumacher. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name right now. The other Haas driver, not Schumacher, but Daniel Ricciardo's running with him during there. I'm going to remember it like halfway through this segment here. But that was interesting. And then the other McLaren of Lando Norris taking out Charles Leclerc, but Leclerc ended up finishing fourth. Great drive for him. George Russell scoring his first win in the Formula One driver, although it should have happened in 2020. But go back and listen to those episodes and hear my conspiracy theories about that one. I think Mercedes brought out a new car, new upgrades, and it showed at Brazil. And I think Brazil was the best race of the 2022 season. That's just me being me. But now do you have a best race or do you?
No, I don't. There was one, but I don't remember which one it was, but there was one before anything was locked up, before Max had secured the championship or anything like that, that I was watching. All the first 6 or 7 cars were all within 10 seconds of each other. It was just much better Formula One racing than what we had seen in years past. So,
and what we still kind of see, this new car was supposed to not extend that lead out, but Max Verstappen just dominated this.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I will say the worst race of the 2022 season, though, was all races after the Japanese Grand Prix, with the exclusion of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And the Japanese Grand Prix is the race in which Max Verstappen secured the championship, although be it with a little bit of controversy there, but still secured the 2022 Drivers' Championship there. So everything after the Japanese Grand Prix to me was just, except for the Brazilian race,
season was over.
The season was over. Really wasn't much to say with that. Best team
F1 needs to fix the point system.
They need to fix a lot, but if we say consistency matters in NASCAR and we want to get away with the playoff format, Formula One has the most consistent playoffs. If you're consistently running up there in the top 3 all the time, like Verstappen did most of the year, you're going to lock up that championship pretty fast.
But that's also because of how big their points gap, their point spread
right.
are.
No, I get
between
that.
first and second. There's like a 5, 6, 8 point spread between first and second.
7, I want to say. 7-point gap.
That's a big gap.
Those 7 points out of fast, but yeah, that was gonna be my worst races, I guess you could say, of all the races there after in the 2022 championship season for Formula One. Best team and driver in Formula One in 2022. I think that's
next question.
I gave it to Max Verstappen in Red Bull. Max winning his second career championship. He also broke the season win record held by Michael Schumacher since 2004, which was 14 at the time. He broke that record. And Red Bull secured
big record.
He run over 14 races this season. And Red Bull securing the Constructors' Championship after the U.S. Grand Prix there at Austin. First since 2013 with now retired Sebastian Vettel. We're going to be missing some Sebastian Vettel here. I thought he would have done better for Ferrari. And I think his legacy will mainly be the Red Bull championships, the 4 Red Bull championships he has. Unfortunately, it won't be Ferrari. And it definitely won't be Aston Martin. It will be the Red Bull, which will leave his legacy here. But I think you'd be in agreement with me there that Red Bull, Max Verstappen, just takes the cake this year.
No doubt.
The worst team and driver. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that, if you have anything to say about that at all.
I don't know. There's a few different ones, but because you got a lot of them that constantly run in the back. But you have I'm going to say, I know this is going to sound bad, but worst team and driver, Hamilton. And I say that because he just did. They did not perform with this new car up until the latter parts of the year, and it was just always something with him this year. Just constantly somebody else's fault.
I could see that. I could see why you would say that about Lewis Hamilton. He kind of has this
Not because just the driving skills or
right.
whatever. I'm not saying that, but he wouldn't be where he was at if he didn't have the driving skills or whatever. But the team overall just didn't perform, and then it was but it was never his fault. He made plenty of mistakes on the track. So some of the other teams, we just expect them to be at the back.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's just one of those things with Hamilton and Mercedes where it was kind of a rebuilding year, whereas everybody else seemed to be way ahead of the game. They finally caught up, like you said, at the end of the season, and I didn't give it to them. I gave it, unfortunately, to Haas and Schumacher.
I started to say Haas too, but
it's Mick Schumacher coming in with these expectations, these unrealistic expectations. It's kind of like Dale Earnhardt Jr. being compared to Dale Earnhardt Sr. and the expectations for them. It's like Harrison Burton being compared to Jeff Burton, or Jeb Burton to Ward Burton, or Chase Elliott to Bill Elliott. You can compare any of these father-son combos here, and unfortunately, the son will always be in the shadow of the father, especially if the father is a optimum racer, if he's an elite racer, like Michael Schumacher was during his tenure in Formula One. You're not gonna get it overnight. It's not gonna happen overnight. I think the pieces fell into the right spot for Michael Schumacher to come up through his career like he did and be as successful as he was. And everybody was kind of expecting that, myself included. I'm not gonna lie. During the first part of Mick's career, I was eyes on him. He's got a lot of big shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
He did it with a Haas. And Haas finished 8th in the Constructors' Championship, and Mick finished with an average finish of 14th this season. Not the worst on the grid, but not the best. You're not going to get anywhere with that. He had a few points finishes. He had 2 points finishes out of 22 races. And that's just not going to cut the cake. That's not going to bring anything home. That's not going to help out the team overall. Kevin Magnussen, his teammate, who I just now thought of, could have contributed a lot more, but he didn't contribute a crazy amount more as Mick Schumacher did. And I think Haas will turn it around eventually. They got Nico Hulkenberg coming in, replacing Mick Schumacher at the end of the season. By all indications, Mick will be going and filling that vacant Williams seat. I think it's going to be interesting to see where his career goes. And it's unfair to compare him to his dad, but that's kind of what everybody does when another name like that, like Chase Elliott, love him or hate him, you're automatically going to hear Chase Elliott, the son of Bill Elliott. His name's already up there with some of the greats. Oh, he's the son of this. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the same way. Is he going to be better than his dad or worse than his dad? We'll find out. I think it was just one of those expectation things that just weren't met, and unrealistic, unfair expectations put on Mick Schumacher this year. But Austin and Mick Schumacher have that one for me. And 2 more to go here. Did the season for Formula One meet your expectations?
Other than, one team running away with it, I'll say yeah. I think that the new car, like I said, other than Verstappen running away with 10 to 20-second leads, the rest of the field stayed pretty well bunched up. So the new design of the car and stuff like that, it did help the racing overall, I feel. So I for the most part enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did as well up until, like you said, it was
Until the championship was won
up.
and then the season was over.
Yeah, until there was no more drama. I, like everybody else, wanted to see something like the 2021 season, right down to the wire, the final race, the final lap, to the drivers going for the championship, locking horns, clean racing, going for it. I wanted another soundbite like from Total Wolf saying, "No, Mikey, this is so not right." Maybe propelled there towards Christian Horner and Red Bull and seeing how the shoe fits when you wear it. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got something like we got in the previous 4 seasons from 2020 all the way back to 2018, 2016, where it was just a runaway, one team, one fight. They're going to go and win it. You don't want to bet against them. Red Bull is now in that seat compared to everybody else. They've taken that trophy and those reins away from Mercedes, and they said, if you want it back, you got to beat us for it. And it's going to take a while, I think, for that to happen, because now Red Bull's found their niche and they're gonna stay up there with that. Checking the comments there. Last question here. What are you most looking forward to for Formula One in the 2023 season?
Well, I think you just answered it. To see if anybody can catch them, see if anybody can take the reins from them.
Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing if Ferrari, Mercedes, and Haas with Hülkenberg, a very good German driver, very good driver, coming into that seat filling Mick Schumacher's role, can challenge Red Bull. Can anybody challenge these guys? I'll be happy to see even a McLaren. They're starting to rise up through their ranks. They used to be the laughing stock, not even making any laps and getting out of Q1 at all. Now they're a team that's worthy for a fight. Ricardo, unfortunately, not running full time. I think we're going to see a lot of changes there in that organization. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in Haas, Ferrari, Mercedes in order to challenge Red Bull. And if Red Bull's smart, they're going to change with them to keep that competitive edge. Looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to the newest track on the circuit, the Las Vegas Grand Prix coming up here. I had the bright idea to look for tickets to see if I could bring you, Preston, Austin, and everybody there. We could stay there, have a nice weekend in Vegas for the Formula One race. I quickly said no on that one. Grandstand tickets for one
$1
was into 2000s.
Yep.
That's not including for 4, so that'd be 2, 4, 6, 8,000 plus or minus, plus hotel, plus flights, plus food, plus everything else we're going to do. And with my luck, I'd lose everything on the first night there at Vegas and say, oh no. So needless to say, that's not in the books, but we'll definitely watch it on TV. But I'm going to check the schedule here. That's about it for the Formula One and NASCAR season review. Charlie, anything else before we get into our final thoughts here?
No, I reckon I'm good, man.
All right, let's get into our final thoughts, man. Let's wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
White flag, white flag. White flag, white flag. White flag. 1 lap to go. 1 lap right here.
Final thoughts here on this week's episode of Rambling About Racing. Again, just to give everybody a heads up here, our final episode this season will be here in the next couple weeks, where Preston, Austin, Charlie, and I will go through the season as we do every Christmas episode and bring you the best of episode, the best of what we thought of the season. I have a feeling this is going to be a fun one this year, given that we went to Talladega. We had a lot of arguments. We had a few fun things thrown in there here and there. Should be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that. And Charlie, before you go, what do you do and what are your plans for Thanksgiving here?
Well, I'm gonna be at Jeff and Carissa's Thursday. Nothing family wise. Well, Jeff and Carissa are family,
Right.
but nothing with my mom or anything like that.
Okay.
Thursday. We typically do all our stuff Saturday.
Saturday, yeah, during the Iron Bowl.
Yep. So other than that, nothing really. I got to round up some tools out of the shed Thursday as well to take to work and whatnot. So
Okay.
I got to round up some stuff that I had stored since I'm back in the shop and stuff. So I know my body hates me right now.
Right. Well, yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, I just before I tried to look for this week in NASCAR, Charlie, and crazy enough, nothing really happens around the end of November in NASCAR.
Oh, well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, you're still 7th in points.
I just thought of one. I just thought of one here. I thought of one I could use here.
And I'm still first.
Okay, that's great, Charlie. I do have one here. If I can find it here. Oh my goodness. I got it right here. The day after Thanksgiving in 2001, NASCAR held a race in New Hampshire, which was postponed to the 9/11 terrorist attacks that happened the previous week. NASCAR postponed the race, moved it to the day after Thanksgiving, I believe, around that time. I think it was a Friday. It was quickly after. By this point, Jeff Gordon has already secured the championship, but they still wanted to run this 36 race. And here's what happened. Robbie Gordon speeds to his first NASCAR Winston Cup win of the season finale in New Hampshire International Speedway. The race was postponed from September 16th because of the terrorist attacks on September 11th. Jeff Gordon nabs his fourth Winston Cup title by 349 points over Tony Stewart. Off the top of my head, that's what happened. I don't expect much of this week in NASCAR next week, but stay tuned for season 5 in February where we'll pick this back up. But Charlie, I just wanted to wish you happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you as well, buddy.
Again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there listening on your regular podcast platform. If you joined us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, really do appreciate it. As you can tell, it's just me and Charlie here. Preston's spending time with his family. Austin's taking care of 2 new additions to his family here. Make sure to join us tomorrow on AAA Broadcasting for the
truck race in Atlanta.
VRL race in Atlanta. Also stay on YouTube at RAR_motorsports on Twitter.
It's the new Atlanta too, not the old Atlanta.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. Stay tuned follow us on that. Links will be posted up at Rambling About Racing's Twitter and Facebook page. Follow us on that, and you'll see links to mine and Charlie's Twitch accounts for that race. Uncensored, unfiltered. Everything goes mainly from Charlie's side of the house there on that one, I have to say. But if you look at the Texas race, you'll hear some stuff from me as well. But happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Be safe wherever you're going. Have a great Thanksgiving with family and friends. Be safe, especially if you're deep frying the turkey. Please be safe deep frying the turkey. And get ready for one more episode of Rambling About Racing this year. That will wrap up season 4. And with that, Charlie, do you have anything else before we wrap up this episode of Rambling About Racing?
No, y'all just be safe traveling and take care of yourselves.
And one more comment here.
Yes, I'm working.
First.
And I am wore out.
All right. All right, buddy. Well, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here on this episode of Rambling About Racing. Thanks again so much if you joined us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube Live, or if you're joining us now on when this podcast drops on your regular podcast platform or rewatching it on any of those platforms. Make sure to follow Rambling About Racing on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for the latest and greatest world of auto racing. Not much going on now that it's off season, but for what's also going on in our lives as well. Thanks to our partners to the show, Stand Up to Cancer, Fanatics, Devos, and Extreme Sim Racing for all they do, not only for us here at Rambling About Racing, but for what they do for the Belly Up Sports and Burns Radio as well. For Charlie Hercus, Chuck 8384, I'm Matt Beamer, M Beamer 22, both on Twitter. Also, Austin Reeves, Austin_Reeves 6, and Preston Lood, B_Lood on Twitter. Stay safe. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you for our season 4 wrap up and Christmas special in a couple weeks.